My beloved child, there are seasons of life that seem to be nothing more than delay. Seasons in which it feels as though you are walking endlessly along a winding road that leads nowhere. Yet, in my eyes, that is not wandering. It is the place where I quietly strengthen you, where I teach your feet not to tremble before strong winds, where I train your heart to remain still amid chaotic noise, and where I teach you to lean on me, even when all before you is a night not yet broken by dawn. You once thought those long days of waiting were useless. But, my child, not one of your tears has been forgotten. Not one of your prayers has vanished into emptiness. Not one time you silently tried to rise again has escaped my sight. What you call delay, I call preparation. What you call trial, I call the classroom of grace. What you call desolation, I call the place where I sow hidden strength within you, so that tomorrow you may step through a new door without falling as easily as you did yesterday. There were times when you prayed and the heavens seemed silent, when you waited and the road before you remained veiled, when you struggled to keep your heart from despair as everything familiar slipped from your hands one by one. Yet it was precisely in those moments that you learned a kind of faith that does not depend on applause, that does not live by favorable circumstances, that does not require every sign to be clear before it dares to believe. You learned how to speak to me through tears, how to keep the lamp of hope burning while the night winds kept blowing, how to continue loving what is good even after your heart had been wounded by injustice. You are not as weak as you have believed. My child, you have passed through many depths and still know how to look upward. You have endured many hurtful words and have not lost your tenderness. You have faced many closed doors and have not stopped waiting for my guidance. These things are not small before me, for I use those quiet victories to prepare your soul for the road ahead. Therefore, do not be afraid to hope again. My child, I know that old disappointments have made you cautious, that they have caused you to hesitate, no longer daring to rejoice too soon, no longer daring to believe that something truly good could come to you. There were times when you opened your heart and were wounded, when you waited and were let down, when you trusted and then had to quietly gather the broken pieces within yourself. But I am not calling you back to blind innocence. I am calling you into a hope that is purer, deeper, and more enduring, because hope placed in me is not a fragile illusion. It is the quiet anchor that keeps you from drifting away, the small light that does not go out, the gentle reminder that my hand is still holding you, even when you cannot yet see the whole road. You can hope without shame. You can wait without blaming yourself. You can smile toward the future without denying the wounds of the past. For I am the one who knows how to turn broken days into the foundation of a new season of peace. Remember Gideon, the man who once hid himself in fear, working in secret because his people were oppressed and because his own heart could not yet believe that he could become one who was sent. In his own eyes, he was small, his family was not distinguished, his voice seemed insignificant, and the future before him was covered with threatening shadows. But I saw in him what he had never seen in himself. I did not wait for him to become strong before I called him. I called him so that he would learn where strength truly comes from. I was patient with the signs he asked for. I did not despise his trembling. I did not extinguish the fragile seed of faith within him. And when the appointed time came, I did not use a great army so that he might boast in numbers. I used a small company so that all would know that victory does not come from the self-satisfied hand of man, but from my guidance. That story does not belong only to ancient days. My beloved child, it is also a reminder for you today. When you feel lacking, I can still send you. When you feel insufficient, I can still fill you. When you think you are hiding in a forgotten corner, I still know your name, and I know the season in which you will rise. So do not define yourself by the judgments that were once thrown upon your life. Do not let one fall become your name. Do not let one season of failure frame your entire worth. Do not allow the voices of others to become louder than my loving call. You are not a copy of old pain. You are not a prisoner of yesterday. You are not someone forever confined by the things you wish you had done differently. I look upon you with eyes of grace, and in that gaze you are lifted, washed clean from guilt, restored in dignity, and invited to step into a new purpose. The things that have passed no longer have the right to pull you backward if you place your hand in mine. You may learn from the past, but do not build your dwelling there. You may remember old lessons, but do not put on the garment of shame again. I am clothing you with gentle courage, new purity, and a faith deep enough that you no longer have to live as one who has been abandoned. Before you, I am opening paths you had never thought of before. Some opportunities will come in forms you did not expect. Some connections will be arranged by me in ways you could not have created on your own. Some provision will appear at the right time, when you thought you had come to the end of your strength. But my child, an open door also requires a responding step. I do not want you to stand forever at the threshold, simply because you are waiting to feel completely certain. Faith is not knowing everything before you move. Faith is recognizing that I have gone before you and daring to follow in peaceful obedience. You do not need to hold the entire map, because I am the one who knows every turn. You do not need to have every answer, because I am the one who holds your story from beginning to end. When I call, step forward. When I open, enter. When I place a holy prompting within your heart, do not let doubt pull you back into the familiar shadow of fear. Then you will understand that what you have gone through has not made you less valuable. It has made your heart more tender toward the pain of others, more able to cherish peace over noise, more able to recognize my hand, even in small things. I do not waste your journey. I gather the days you thought were shattered, breathe new life into them, and turn them into testimony of my mercy. One day, you will look back and realize that the place where you once wept was also the place where you matured. The place where you thought you were being delayed was also the place where you were being protected. The place where you thought you were alone was also the place where I was nearer than you knew. So lift up your head, my beloved child. The new season does not demand that you be perfect. It invites you to trust. I did not bring you this far to abandon you halfway. I preserved you in the darkness, and I will also lead you into the dawn. Move forward with a renewed heart, with eyes that know how to expect good, and with the gentle certainty that you do not belong to yesterday's failure. You belong to the grace blooming today, and to the good promise I am still fulfilling in your life. My beloved child, I do not look at you with the harsh eyes with which you often look at yourself. I see the times you have quietly tried. I see the small battles no one else knows about. I see even the moments when you wanted to give up, yet still chose to return to what is right. You think I only notice your falls, but no. I also see every seed of longing within you, every sigh that desires to live more purely, every tear that falls when you realize you need to be shaped. That longing is not a passing thought you created on your own. It is a seed I placed deep within you. When a child begins to grieve over what draws them away from the light, when they no longer delight in old paths, when they desire to become more pleasing to me day by day, that is a sign that my hand is at work. Do not despise that small beginning, for many of my great works have begun with a very quiet movement in the human heart. Therefore, do not let weakness make you conclude that you cannot change. I know you are not yet complete, but I also know that you are being led step by step. A child is not rejected by their father simply because they stumble while learning to walk. Instead, a compassionate father bends down, lifts the child up, wipes the dust from their knees, and gently teaches them to keep going. I am the same with you. I do not call you to holiness in order to crush you beneath the burden of guilt, but to free you from the things that make you darkened, weary, and far from peace. Do not think of holiness as a cold wall built between you and joy. Holiness is a garden fenced by grace, where the precious things within you are protected, where light is nurtured, where your heart learns to love what is pure and to let go of what harms the life I have given. Some people think holiness belongs only to solemn places, to hours of prayer, to songs of worship, or to those placed in honored positions. But my child, I do not want to meet you only in sacred moments. I want to walk with you in your small room, on your familiar road, in your daily work, in the way you speak, think, choose, rest, and treat others. Your life cannot be divided in two. One part for me and one part for the things you insist on keeping for yourself. I am the one who loves you wholly, and so I also desire to enter every corner of your life, not to take away what is good, but to cleanse, order, and make everything within you more radiant. When you learn to invite my presence even into the smallest things, every ordinary action can become a fragrant offering. Every quiet decision can become a gentle yes lifted before me. Be careful about what you allow into the space of your life, for the environment around you can either nourish the light or dull the sensitivity within you. Some things appear harmless at first glance, but if you allow them to remain too long, they will gradually sow heaviness, restlessness, comparison, bitterness, or impure desire. Some outside voices do not make you fall immediately, but they can quietly cause you to forget to whom you belong. Therefore, guard the door of your heart. Do not open to every thought simply because it knocks loudly. Do not receive every word simply because the world calls it normal. Do not let the noise of people teach you how to live while I am whispering to you through peace. Guarding yourself is not fear, it is the wisdom of one who knows what is precious and does not want dust to cover the vessel I have cleansed. Remember Daniel, the young man taken into a foreign land, living in a brilliant palace where everything seemed attractive, convenient, and full of promise. He did not have the familiar temple before his eyes. He did not have his homeland surrounding him from behind. He did not have a crowd of people sharing his faith to strengthen him each day. Yet in that foreign place, he still decided to keep himself from the things that could blur the consecration upon his life. He did not boast loudly. He did not rebel in arrogance. And he did not despise those around him. He simply chose a pure path before me in quietness. And in that hidden choice, I gave him wisdom, steadfastness, and a position that human strength could never have built. Daniel's story reminds you that holiness does not always need to be loud, nor does it need to display itself with grand words. Often, it is simply a hidden decision in an ordinary day, a gentle but firm refusal, a steadfast loyalty when no one is watching except me. So, do not say that your generation is too dark for you to live in the light. It is precisely because there is darkness around you that the light within you becomes necessary. I did not place you in the world so that you would dissolve into every current, but so that you would become a gentle, yet unwavering lamp. That lamp does not need to burn others with harsh judgment, nor does it need to make itself prominent with outward religious appearance. It only needs to burn, truly, shine, truly, and warm, truly. When you live in holiness, others will recognize in you a peace unlike the peace of this world, a gentleness that does not come from weakness, a strength that does not need noise, and a joy that does not depend on praise. You will become a living testimony, not because you declare yourself good, but because the quiet way you live reflects my love. I know there will be times when you feel pulled back toward old habits, old thoughts, and old weaknesses. But do not be alarmed when you realize you still need my correction. Those whom I love, I do not abandon in their old condition. I will patiently remind you, lift you, prune you, and renew you through every season. Your part is not to force yourself into perfection in one day, but to continue drawing near to me, to continue allowing my light to shine into the places still tangled within you, to continue choosing what is right when you can, and when you stumble, to quickly return in humility. My grace is not permission for careless living. It is the gentle strength that helps you rise and walk in a better way. I do not despise you because you are still being trained. I rejoice that you still desire to be transformed. Let holiness enter your words, so that your mouth is no longer a place that sows wounds, but becomes a fountain of comfort. Let holiness enter your eyes, so that you look upon others with mercy instead of envy or contempt. Let holiness enter your thoughts, so that you do not nurture in secret the things that make your soul heavy. Let holiness enter the way you work, so that you remain faithful even in small things. Let holiness enter your home, so that the place where you dwell becomes a place of peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because I am honored in your daily choices. When you live this way, you are not only preserved, you also become a light by which others may find their way back to what is good. My beloved child, I am nearer to you than you imagine. I am not standing far away, waiting for you to fail so I can condemn you. I am beside you to give strength, to teach you, and to guide you step by step. What I have sown in you, I have the power to make grow. The holy flame I have lit, I am able to keep from going out. Your part is not to turn your back on the light, not to take lightly the gentle prompting within your heart, and not to compromise with what you know will draw you away from me. Keep walking. My child, choose purity not because you are afraid, but because you know you are loved. Guard your heart not to prove anything to the world, but because you are the place where I desire to dwell. And as you continue allowing me to shape you, your life will gradually become like a lamp set on high, not proud, not noisy, but steadily shining, leading the weary to see that my love is still cleansing, healing, and making all things new. My beloved child, lift up your head and listen to what I am gently placing within your heart. The story of your life has not been closed. There are days when you look at the pages already written and think that everything most important has ended, that missed chances, fights, losses, and long silent nights have already written your destiny. But I tell you that no dark season has the right to place the final period upon a life I am still preserving. I am the one who called your name from the beginning, and I am also the one who will lead you to the beautiful ending prepared according to my purpose. You only see a few scattered lines. I see the whole book. You only see one sorrowful chapter. I know that chapter is preparing a song of restoration. You only see pauses that seem meaningless. I am using even those silences to create a holy rhythm for your journey. Therefore, do not let the past tighten its grip on your hand any longer. What has happened may teach you wisdom, but it is not permitted to imprison you in guilt. Old years may leave their marks, but they do not have the right to steal the hope I am still kindling within you. You are not a prisoner of what has passed, nor are you the shadow of your failures. You are one whom I am lifting up, one whom I am calling out of the narrow place, one whom I am leading into a wider light. Your present, though still unfinished in many ways, is not the final sentence. There are things today you do not yet understand, prayers that have not yet received an answer, doors that are still closed. But do not hastily conclude that I have stopped working. Often, I work most deeply when you see the fewest signs. Often, my hand is weaving something precious in the very place where you thought there was only delay. Remember Joseph, the son who carried a dream but was cast into a pit by those closest to him, seen through human eyes. His story seemed to have fallen into tragedy from its earliest chapters. From the pit to a foreign land, from being sold to years of misunderstanding, and then to a cold prison. Each stage seemed to move him farther from the promise. But I did not forget Joseph in the darkness. I did not lose him in the prison. I did not allow injustice to become the ending. I used those winding paths to bring him to the place where he could save many people from famine. When my appointed time came, the years that seemed buried became steps leading to wisdom, leadership, and forgiveness. My child. That story was preserved, so you would understand that some chapters of life may look like ruin at first. But in my hands, they become the road to a purpose greater than what you once prayed for. So when you do not understand why you must pass through certain difficult seasons, place your heart within, my love. A day will come when you will look back and no longer ask with a voice of accusation. On that day, your eyes will be opened to the kindness that quietly followed you through every turn, every fall, every farewell, and every season of waiting. You will realize that I was not only with you in the days when you were strong, but also in the mornings when you trembled. I was not only near when you sang in joy, but also near when you had no words left to speak. I was there in the empty room, in the weary steps, in the decisions you had to make with tearful eyes, even in the times when you thought you were completely alone. Not one page of your life is outside my sight, and not one drop of pain is beyond my mercy. Now I invite you to stand firm, not by your fragile strength, but under the covering of my everlasting love. Walk in the light, which means do not return to living beneath the lies that once made you bow your head. Live in freedom, which means do not allow the invisible chains of fear, shame, resentment, or doubt to drag you back to the place from which I have already brought you out. The freedom I give is not careless wandering, it is the ability to live purely, peacefully, and courageously under my guidance. When you know you are loved, you no longer need to prove your worth by chasing every call of the world. When you know you are kept, you no longer need to cling to the things that drain you. When you know I have not abandoned you, you can breathe deeply in the storm and keep walking, even if each step is still small. My beloved child, do not hastily conclude that your season has passed simply because you see a few doors that once closed behind you. Time in your hands may make you anxious, but time in my hands can always be redeemed, renewed, and reordered in mercy. You often look at the years you think were lost and blame yourself. You look at the opportunities that slipped away and think you are no longer worthy to begin again. But my child, I do not measure your future by the times you were delayed, nor do I define your worth by the moments you once lost your way. I am the one who sees what you cannot see, preserves what you thought was ruined, and has the power to turn even the fragments of yesterday into the foundation of a new path. No drop of pain is wasted when it is placed in my hands. No crack is meaningless when I use it to let light enter. No season of delay can overcome the loving purpose I have prepared for you. There are times when you think your life is like a garden whose season of blooming has passed, leaving only dry soil, fallen leaves, and silent branch. You watch others step into the things they hoped for, while you stand there, feeling that you arrived too late, chose wrongly, and lost too much. But I want you to understand that I do not work only in the bright springtime, I also work in the quiet winter. Some roots must grow beneath the ground before a new branch can rise. Some seeds must remain in darkness for a time before breaking through the soil. Do not despise the days when nothing seems to be moving, for I may be preparing new life where you cannot see. What looks dry to you is not necessarily dead in my eyes. What you call an ending may simply be the silence before a beginning I have sanctified. I know that old mistakes have weighed heavily on your heart. There are decisions you wish you could go back and change, words you wish you could take back, paths you regret having entered. Many times, you have wondered if only you had been wiser, braver, more tender then. Perhaps today, everything would be different. But my child, I do not want you to live forever in the room of if only. That room has no windows, no light, only the echo of regret. I am calling you out. I do not deny what you have gone through, but I will not allow it to rule over you. Mistakes can become teachers when you place them under my light, but they become chains if you hold them as a sentence against yourself. I did not come to bury you beneath the ashes of the past. I came to lift you up, brush the dust from your garment, place new wisdom in your hand, and lead you onward by mercy that never runs dry. Remember Moses, the man who once fled Egypt in fear and lived for many years in the wilderness, tending flocks through days that seemed forgotten. In human eyes, those 40 years could have been considered too late, too long, too far from his original dreams. He had grown up in a palace, then became a fugitive in the desert. Many might have thought his story had ended in the silence of dust and sand, but I did not forget him in the wilderness. I used that very lonely place to soften his heart, to forge humility within him, to teach him to listen to my voice instead of relying on his own strength. And then, when the bush burned without being consumed, I called his name, not when he was youngest, not when he was most confident, not while he still stood in the palaces of men, but when he thought the time for being used had already passed. I sent him to become the guide of a people. Do you see, my child, in my hands? The wilderness is not the grave of a calling. It can be the place where the calling is refined. Therefore, do not say you are too late. I am not limited by the clock that makes you anxious. I am not troubled by the years you think you have lost. I can use one day of obedience to open what you thought would take a lifetime to reach. I can use one step of return to redirect an entire journey. I can place one timely encounter, one unexpected door, one quiet support, one inner illumination, and everything can begin to move in a way you could never arrange for yourself. What matters is not how long you have walked slowly, but whether today you are willing to place your hand back into mine. What matters is not how much you have missed, but whether you believe I still have enough power to lead you into the remaining portion of the promise. What the enemy wanted to use to discourage you, I can turn into testimony of grace. The wounds that once made you think you were no longer whole, I can turn into the place where you learn deeper mercy. The failures that once made you bow your head, I can turn into steps by which you rise with steady humility. The losses that once made you feel empty, I can use to create space for something better to be poured in. My child, I am the one who brings order into confusion, light into darkness, and a peaceful rhythm into things that were once chaotic. When you hand me the pieces of your life that you thought had no value left, I do not throw them away. I gather them, cleanse them, arrange them, and make from them a picture that one day you will behold with astonished eyes. Do not let comparison steal the joy of beginning again. You see others moving faster, achieving more, standing in places you once longed for, and you ask yourself whether you have been left behind. But, my beloved child, your journey is not a copy of anyone else's. I did not call you to run in another person's rhythm, nor did I require you to bloom in their season. Some flowers bloom early, and some trees bear fruit late. But if they remain under my care, they all carry beauty at the proper time. You have not been forgotten among the crowd. Your name remains in my loving remembrance. Your path is still before me. The days ahead of you are not leftovers. They are a field where I can still sow new harvests. Now I want you to lay down the heavy garment of regret. Stop calling yourself by the names regret has given you. Stop seeing the past as a wall that cannot be crossed. I have made a way where you saw no way, and I can still do the same today. Begin with one small but sincere step. Return to what is right. Speak a simple prayer. Repair what you can repair. Forgive what must be forgiven. Walk away from what is pulling you down, and receive my grace as fresh water for a new day. I do not require you to rebuild everything in one night. I only invite you to trust me in the next step. When you walk, I will add strength. When you are weary, I will uphold you. When you do not know where to go, I will light the way with peace. My child, your future is not sealed by old mistakes, nor closed by past opportunities. Your future rests in the hands of the one who loved you before you knew how to love, who kept you when you no longer knew how to keep yourself, and who still calls you tenderly today. Believe that I am not finished with you. Believe that there are still new pages being written with the ink of mercy. Believe that what I restore is not only what you lost, but also the courage to live again in the light. You are not too late to rise. You are not too far to return. You are not too broken to be made new. In my hands, even the years that seemed wasted can become witnesses to a love that redeems, rebuilds, and leads you to the good place I prepared for you long ago.